Greetings, greetings, greetings. You are now tuned into the Vault. Trust Christian own nothing, control everything. Just want to thank you for tuning in live, listening to replay. Always appreciate everybody that tunes in live, listens in the replay. You are now tuned into the Vault. This is Trust Christian, and just want to thank you for tuning in live. We got a special episode coming for you today with Dr. Bay going over the 13th law today. And so, just really excited to bring this particular episode to you all because this is a topic that, a lot of people they reach out to the vault and they say they want to change their family's financial future. They say they want to protect their family assets. They talk, they talk, they talk. But there has to become a point where your words meet your actions meet your words, and you have a thing called harmony. You have a thing called congruency. And so, who better to have on than Dr. Bay, who really trained Trust Christian in the Vault and the trustees as well. So this is an episode where you can actually get a chance to work with Dr. Bay based off of knowing the 13th law. And so, who better to bring on than Dr. Bay, who exposed us to this 13th law and has enabled us to have better relationships, have better outcomes, and do the things that we know that we need to do to make ours and others' dreams come true. So, Dr. Bay, thank you for joining us today.
You're more than welcome.
How you doing today?
I'm doing great and getting greater just like you.
Well, definitely appreciate you, Dr. Bay, for coming on today and doing what is it that you said you was going to do today, which is go over the 13th law today, which is what is the 13th law in the universe, Dr. Bay? Because it's a lot of people on the internet saying that they know the universal laws, they know the second law of the universe, but they don't know the laws of the universe because it's only a few people walking around on the planet that are like you anyway. So, would you like to let our people know, let the listening audience know what is the 13th law and, about that?
Yes, there are there are 22 laws, and the 13th one is an extremely important one for us governing your activity. And the 13th law simply says something that all of us need to do in every area of our life, knowingly or unknowingly. We need to do the 13th law. And you need to get the knowledge to know and do the unknowingly, but doing the knowingly ones is a major, major aspect. And what is the 13th law? The 13th law is what you must do in order to be truthful to yourself and others too. Stop lying. And if you understand that stop lying is the energy of you, to think of it this way, nobody wants to do business with a liar. And the aspect of doing business, whether it's with yourself or anybody else, you can't lie. And if people know or find out that you're lying, they don't want to do business with you. And you're not doing business with yourself if you constantly lying to yourself about what you're going to do and how you're going to do it too. And because the only way to make all your dreams come true is to stop lying. It
Give
is
it.
your thoughts and subsequent action that is governing your world and creating your world for you. And what you must do is be truthful to yourself in every way, each and every day, so that you can bring about all the wonderful things you say. And it's difficult to do this without knowing yourself, knowing why you're here on earth, knowing what you're supposed to accomplish this year, knowing what you're supposed to accomplish this month, knowing what you're supposed to accomplish this week, but most of all, knowing what you're divinely to accomplish today and operating that way. And so it is extremely important if you're going to do what you need to do and what you first know what you need to do, what your divine purpose is. And everybody don't have the same design and divine purpose. But whether you know it or not, everybody has years and what they're supposed to do, days, what they're supposed to do, weeks and even months and what they're supposed to do, and follow through and be true to themselves in every way. And of course, one of the things that you need to understand is how to hypnotize yourself to make sure you do what you say you're going to do. And of course, that's another set of training too, but I just mentioned it to you because you need to follow up in every way and do what you say.
It's interesting that you bring up that hypnotizing real quick. We're gonna stay on there for a second, even though the episode's about not lying to yourself. And recently, we were able to connect and spend some time together, and definitely appreciate you for the compliment about listening to the hypnotizing and the affirmations at night going to bed. Could you just share how important that was, or what you thought, not necessarily of me, but what you thought about when you really, without me talking to you about it first, but hearing that, at night, listening to affirmations, listening to a hypnotizing track. What were your thoughts about that when you heard it?
Well, I'm not sure. I've heard so many things and do so many things since then that I'm not totally sure that I know exactly what you're asking.
Remember when we
But
were at the
let's say,
hotel when you had and we had the hypnotizing track on at night? What were your thoughts on that when you really heard that? Like, what were your initial thoughts? Like, wow, he's listening to affirmation and hypnotizing tracks at night.
oh, I know that everybody hypnotizes themselves without knowing it. Your thoughts, what you're saying to yourself, hypnotizes you, and it causes you to carry on the 17th law because you're hypnotized to do so. So that's really what I thought about. That was my father of the 22 laws. That was his favorite law was the 17th law, which deals with the hypnosis aspect. It deals with what you tell yourself you have to do. I've told people about this that I was doing a training class once, and there was a young lady, and I was explaining to them the 17th law. And the 17th law is the law that says have to, the law of have to. And she says to me, I don't ever feel like I have to and tell myself I have to do anything. I may want to do it and go and do it, or I know I should do it and go ahead and do it, but I don't tell myself I have to do anything. Well, at that time for that class, I was doing it. It's an 18-week class, and I was doing it every week. And so she came the next week, and as we came, we one of us had parked on one side of the office and the other on the other side, and we was walking towards the office, both of us, and she saw me and put a big smile on her face and ran and grabbed me and hugged me. And she said, you remember what I said last week? I said, about what? She said, about, I said that I never feel like I have to do anything. I said, yeah, oh yeah, I remember you saying that. She said, guess what? The next morning, I heard myself tell myself, I have to get out of bed. And I got up. And I told myself, I have to brush my teeth, and I have to comb my hair, and I have to get the kids ready. And so she said, I've decided to make a list of the things I was telling myself I have to do. And 64 times a day, I told myself I had to do something. And I, just like you said, if I the thing that it wasn't necessarily what I wanted to do or I liked doing, but once I told myself I had to do it, I went ahead and done it immediately. We got to understand that we don't understand. And many of us have no idea what is controlling us or what we know demonstrate and show that we have to do.
Okay. So let's talk about it then. Let's get back to the 13th law of not lying to yourself. And this episode is based off of what you tell yourself you'll eventually do. So even that goes into what Dr. Bay just mentioned, which is telling yourself what you have to do. But no one wants to do business with a liar. So when people reach out to the vault and they say, oh, I want to protect my assets, I want to be in generational wealth building. Dr. Bay, could you talk about how someone can use their words, use that law so they can actually create good habits, working habits, habits that are productive, habits that enable them to have their dreams come true because they're not lying to themselves, because they're not lying to others in general. So, could you talk about how they could use that law and actually enable themselves to help themselves in developing better habits to get rid of that? How do they even get rid of that 13th law applying to them in their life?
Well, that's a part of the major training that we do, and it's something that you need to know, and it goes back to the law of hypnotizing yourself, just knowing that you have to do something, and it's it's a good habit to tell yourself, I have to stop lying, and do it immediately. But there are systems involved that allow you to do that, and that's a part of the training that we structure for our members.
Okay. And so, how do they? Okay, how does an individual, if you're supposed to state things in the I am and the present, how does that go along with the have to? The have to means you haven't done it yet, correct?
Right?
Okay.
But it means that you want to do it immediately. If you tell yourself, I have to go to the bathroom, you're not talking about next week, next month, next year. You're talking about right now.
Okay. Okay, so this is a part of goal setting as well. Someone could use the have tos because they have to do something and it could go along with their goals.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. And so when it comes to someone saying, well, I'm not going to lie to myself, let's break down the emotional element of the 13th law. Could you talk about the emotional component to why people even do such a thing? And I think I know what you're going to say,
Well,
but I would love to hear your thoughts.
well, you must remember that people lie to themselves knowingly and unknowingly. And there is such a large quantity of things involved that causes you to do this. If you, it's like when you go through a spiritual rebirth, you may not realize what your father, before you were ever conceived, structured in you, or your mother, more so when carrying you, structured into you and causes you to feel, think, and act a certain way. And the environment that you're brought up in, how it conditions you to feel, think, and act a certain way that has a righteous or an unrighteous side, and a righteous side being the right, doing the things that's good for all concerned, and an unrighteous side may be doing what's good for you and not good for nobody else, or good for somebody else and not good for you. So um, we got to understand, one of the biggest lies, as far as I'm concerned, that's ever told is, if I knew better, I'd do better. And so, because most people know better than drinking and getting drunk and getting high and cheating and all the things, that don't mean they're going to do better. They formed a habit of doing things that are unrighteous. And, you know, will tell themselves they have to do this. I have to go. I have to give me. All right, I have to go outside and smoke a cigarette. I gotta. I have to do this and I have to do that. So it's not a da 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 type thing. It's not teaching. It's training. And so there's a big difference. Training It's dealing with getting you to do something and do it the right way over and over and over again until you formulate the habit of have to that has involved in it to your emotional side. And your emotional side is governed by two things: love and hate. And so have to is made up of the energies of love and hate. What are the first two letters in love? I mean, in hate. It's HA. And what are the last two letters in love? VE. So that spells have. And what is the third letter in hate? Is a T. And going backwards, what is the third letter in love? So going forward, and it's an O. And that spells two. And have to has to do with you forming habits of love and hate, and how these energies of love and hate is affecting you and causing you to operate a certain way based on what you've hypnotized yourself to do and say.
It's interesting that you say that because what I was thinking that you was going to say was about programming yourself. And I appreciate you coming on and doing this episode. We identified the problem of people lying to themselves. But could you give us a solution on how does someone, and we know that it's not a da 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 kind of thing. Could you give one practical application that someone can do that they can
I
enable?
could, but uh, if any of my associates came on, they would be mad at me doing so because
Okay, no
they're
problem.
they're
No problem,
yeah.
Dr. Bay. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, we just wanted to address this episode to a lot of people reach out to the vault and they talk a big game. They say they're going to do this, they say they're going to do that, but you're lying to yourself. And it does create bad business relationships when you don't say and do what you say you're going to do. And the reason why the vault doesn't have a bad reputation over the internet as long as we've been around is because we do our best to make sure that the people on the receiving end benefit over and above the vault. The value is tremendous. The value is focused on making sure that the end user gets what they paid for, gets what they asked for. And this is something that allows you to stay in business as long as you can because you make it a point to do the things that you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do them. And if you're not able to, we could point out a scenario earlier this year where we ran into a situation where there was a delay working with a trustee, and it was on the vault side, and we had to step up to the plate and we had to be accountable. And we had to be accountable for 30 days where we had to get on the line and give updates weekly about a delay. And knowing that that delay wasn't always in our control, we had to separate our feelings from the business. We had to separate our emotions from the business because it wasn't about the emotions, it was about being accountable. It was about keeping our word, saying that we are accountable, that we do have integrity. So we do want to point this out, ladies and gentlemen, to you all, that when you're engaging with the vault, or when you're engaging in general with people, and most likely yourself, it's important to keep your word to yourself. So, Dr. Bay, did you have any departing words before we got out of here and got off this episode about the 13th law and how people can enable themselves to overcome
Well,
the lying to
they can
themselves?
get in touch with you, and you can set them up with me and what we're doing, and that way they can get trained in it so that they'll know and be able to demonstrate and show.
Thank you for doing this show today, Dr. Bay. Thank you for coming through today, always. And
I'm.
so, hmm?
Uh, thank you for inviting me. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Have a great one.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Bain. Just want to thank everybody for tuning in live, listening, replay. You all can reach out to Christian at trustchristian.com. Once again, that's Christian at trustchristian.com. We'll say it one more time, Christian at trustchristian.com. That's the email you can reach out to so you can connect with Dr. Bay, make your dreams come true. Dr. Bay has been a mentor in a lot of areas of life. And, Dr. Bay has a vast amount of experience. He actually spoke at the Trustee Trainer workshop that we had for asset protection. And just looking forward to him continuously developing the relationships with the trustees, enabling their families to know, their purpose for being here, their purpose for even connecting with the vault, their purpose for connecting with Dr. Bay, so they can go out and help others and make their dreams come true too as well. So we thank you, Dr. Bay, today for bringing your information and your training our way, so we can't just know better and say better, but we can actually do better and have better. And that means that we gotta stop lying to ourselves, ladies and gentlemen. So many people come to the vote and they just telling themselves lies, and they expect Trust Christian to vote not to want to do business with them. But whether you know it or not, it builds bad business in certain environments, ladies and gentlemen. When you're talking about building an environment where people have gone through hard situations, when you talk about building wealth, it's not easy to build that wealth, quote unquote. So when people have gone through those situations, ladies and gentlemen, you want to maintain quality relationships. And maintaining those quality relationships comes from not lying to yourself and not lying to others about what you say you're going to do each and every day, in every single way. So we appreciate you, Dr. Bay, for coming our way. Appreciate everybody for listening today. Peace and blessings. Thank you all. Peace and joy.